everyone, it's Andrew here from Craps Down Under. Today I'm going to do a duel between the two positive progression approaches. One's the 1-3-2 and this one here is going to be the 1-2-3. So if you've been following along on some of the Craps Nation channels, especially Jacob, my own channel, I think Square Pair, a few of us have been playing around with this progression, and Jacob today showed using 1-2-3, and he liked it more because in Jacob's strategy you put down a unit. If you win, that's great, it becomes 2. If you win again, it becomes 3, and if you win that one, then you take your profit. On your second hit, you take down a unit because you go 1, it wins a unit, so now you're betting 2. So there's the 2 that we win. We go fantastic. We'll go to 3, put that one in our rack. And then if that one wins, fantastic. 1, 2, 3. There's our original unit that we, well, you can say there's our original unit that we took out of our rack. And there's our profit. So he's gone 1, 2, 3. And then from there you can continue on going 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just pressing up a unit each time. But I'm just going to concentrate on these first few steps. So he gets his risk out on the second roll, but he's not getting a profit. Oh, he only gets his profit at the end, but he gets his risk out on the second roll if he makes it. So when I look at this from a risk point of, just a pure risk and rolls point of view, you've had one roll, 1 unit of risk out of your bankroll. Second time through the point cycle, if you're playing, say, the don't pass, if you go through the point cycle again, you've risked that. Yes, you've risked that same unit again, but two cycles, 2 times you risked your wager. So that's regarded as, 2 times risk, right? So you've risked twice. And what do you get? Well, on the second roll, you kind of get your initial wager back. You get to pocket your initial risk, which is a great thing. But essentially you're taking 1 out, so it's 1 comes out for the 2 units of risk. So it's a half, right? You've taken two units of risk to get 1 back. If I consider the 1-3-2-4, put in a unit, say I win, that's fantastic. I get my profit comes in, so we go to the next step. I then pull another $1 out of my bankroll, chuck that on. So now I've got 3 units, got 2 units out of my bankroll, plus a unit from my win. If I win that, well, I get paid 3 units. And what I do, I take all of that out, that comes out back into my hand. So what have I done? Well, I've taken my 2 out of my bankroll that I risked, plus I've got 2 units of profit. So when I look at what I've pulled out, I've had effectively 1 unit of risk here on my first roll, 2 units of risk on my second roll. Okay, so that's a total of 3 units that I've risked over those 2 rolls. When I look at the reward, well, I've actually, I'm pulling back 4. All right, so the ratio is 4 to 3. Well, here the ratio is 1 to 2. So half is a lot smaller than 1 1/3, as this is, right? I've got more than 1. I've taken 3 units of risk, but I'm taking out 4 back into my bankroll, right? So my ratio is 4 to 3, not 1 to 2. So for me, from a risk and reward perspective, for me this is better. Doesn't mean it's going to win, right? If you're getting chop and alternating, because you've got a little bit more risk there, you've got an extra unit of risk, you may do worse. But in the average, you should do better because the reward and the risk is a better equation on this side than this other side. Even though this looks like it has less bankroll risk, it doesn't get the reward until roll 3. Yes, you take your risk out on roll 2, but you don't get your full reward until roll 3. And at roll 3, they both have the same reward. That's the thing. At the end of it, they both have the same amount of reward because you basically risk, it goes 1, 3, 2, this one goes 1, 2, 3. The amount you actually win from the casino is the same amount. So at the end of the progression, they're identical. So it's really that second step that we're looking at. Risk reward, this actually is a better ratio than this, but doesn't mean this won't beat it. Because I actually love both of them. And I think if you're getting chop, lots of chop at the table, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, this won't lose as much. So that's the benefit of it. But it also won't win as much at that chop phase in that first 2 bets. So let's get started. I'm going to compare them. And I'm going to play both players to $1,000 bankroll. Then I'll play at a $50 level. We'll play on the don't pass. Let's get started. And may as well just throw these out. What are we going to pick? Yeah, these two will do. All right. So here we go, coming out. Let's see what we got. And apologies for all that talk, but I really wanted to talk about contrasting these two very, very similar plays, only slightly different. So on the 5, I just want to see if we can miss that 5. There's a 7, 4, 3, 7. Fantastic. Both players get paid, identical payout. Both players stack up their win. That was 1 unit of win. Now they're going, this guy's going to the 2 units. This guy digs in and pulls out his extra unit. And this is the critical role for this player. If he loses this, he's down 2 units, where this guy, he only lost 1 unit. And we got an 8. And yo. 5. 5 again. 10. And there's our 7. So got through the critical role, which getting 2 back-to-back wins is not really that hard. It's going to happen an awful lot. Doesn't mean it's going to happen every time, but it does happen often enough that the averages will play out, and you will get this fairly regularly. But not going to say you won't get a horror session. So this is the difference here. This guy's 1, 2, 3 units. He's just leaving 2 units. So what have we pulled back there? Well, we've just literally pulled back $200 back into our bankroll. And we've got 100 riding. This guy here, he's just gonna pull back 50. And he's got 3 units riding. He's got more riding than this guy now. So now this guy can't lose. He hasn't won anything. He's got no risk. This is effectively a free roll for this guy. This is also a free roll for this guy. But this guy is up, taking all his risk out, and he's up 2 units. So it's a very different ratio at this particular roll. So if we don't get through this, if we don't win on this one, this guy's laughing, and this guy's like, okay, got to start over. Didn't make anything. Where this guy actually made a fair chunk of money. And we've got to come out 7. So didn't get to the end of the progression. But here's the thing. You're going to find it, sometimes you'll get to the 3rd level and not get there. Sometimes you won't get to the 2nd level. If you're not getting past the 2nd level, this guy is going to lose more, right? So they are similar, but they're different enough that I think that win-loss ratio actually does become a factor over time. So we're on the 8. So both players having to start at their base level. And there's a 7. All right, so again, both players win the same amount, both parlay up. This guy power presses. Notice that in their bankroll, this guy's still ahead, and he's also power pressed. So he's effectively reinvested his win, and he's even in his bankroll. Well, this guy's still got a little bit of risk on the table. And that's literally just because we had that initial 2 wins. So now we're on the 4. Midnight. And there's our 7. So again, both players getting through the second roll, or second win I should say, not second roll. But again, this guy, he gets to take out his initial risk, which is great. So he's back even in his bank roll with a chance to make bank on 3. This guy pulls all this out. That win, that's again, nice. That's a $300 win. Plus, he takes out that there. All right, a win from the very first win. He takes that out. He's just literally got the 2 units of riding. He's taken out his initial 2 wages here. He's racked up some money here. It's a really nice thing. He's got 2 units of profit in his rack. All right, so here we go, coming out. Boom, both players clean up. So, fantastic, can't complain. No one can complain at this table. So, on this roll, because both players got to the very end, they got to the end of the progression, they're both in the profit. They both made exactly the same amount of profit because they both got to the end. So, let's see where we're at. So obviously this player, because he's taken that little bit more risk on that second roll, he is further ahead and it has paid off. We haven't seen it lose yet, but that's not always going to be the case, right? But I do expect these averages of the risk reward, you know, I'm going to make 4 units, I'm going to be taking 4 units out for the 3 units of risk that I had. That's a good equation. Taking 1 unit out for the 2 units of risk I've had over 2 rolls, 1 unit on 2 rolls, is not as good an equation from a risk reward. Here we go. So, it's a fantastic table for the don'ts. Let me not jinx it, but both parlay it. But I'll probably call quits when we get to, if I get a 500 up, I'll probably call it quits because that's a nice win. There's a 6. We're on the 6. Not the best number to be on, aces. But we can't complain when we had 2 come out winners on the don't, and that's a gift. And on the 8. 8 again. 4 came hard. And there's our 6. So this is the roll that's really differentiates the two, because this guy had his initial win, all right, so he parlayed his win, and he took out of his bankroll, stacked that. So this guy loses more. This guy just loses his initial wager. This guy effectively lost 2 units. I'll start it both over. Come out 7. The tide's turning against us. Now I could swap them both over to the light side. That's certainly something I showed on my last video, using a sort of a zigzag to sort of follow the trend of the table, I guess, if you want to call it that. Oh, this is really nasty. So again, they're all losing. Both players losing the same amount. There's no difference really on this first roll. It's only that second roll that's different. Wow. Now that's a run of 7s. That's a serious run of 7s there. This table's taken what it gave us. And a yo, you're kidding me. So it doesn't get too much worse than staying on the don't, getting beaten up like this. So as we see, this player is still a unit ahead, 50 bucks ahead. But with those kind of rolls, my God, it's been horrible. 8. finally we got a point, and luckily we got a 7 out, because I don't think I could stomach losing again. That was horrendous. And of course you use all the standard rules. If a shooter hurts you once, whatever, don't go, or hurts you twice, whatever, don't go back up on them. You can use all those rules. I was actually inclined to just, as I said, change to the pass line, but I'm actually trying to keep them the same. Just stick with it, because I want to see how they go through. Sorry, this one doesn't do that. This guy stays at 2. This one goes up to 3. So I kind of want to see them both, how they perform when they're losing. 6 on that 6 again. Getting quite a few hard 6s there tonight. 8. And this is the critical roll. This guy does need to get through that. He has lost once at this critical second roll. 8. And there's that 6. So he's lost again. Both players lose. So here we are, back to square one. We're almost literally up $500. Now we're back to square one. Because we're staying literally with we're staying on the dark side through the nice light side winds, right? Rather than pivoting and trying to follow that table. You know, because the table's not going to consistently keep going dark, 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 dark. It's going to, at some point, you know, mix some light in there. So I think if you had a few good wins on the dark, as we did on the dark side, it was about time to be switching to the light side. All right, on the 9, see how we go. It's been a very good run for the light side players. With all those come out winners. There's our 7. So let's see how we go. Both win the same. This guy adds a bit more. They're practically identical in their bankroll. This guy's now put one extra unit of risk, but at that point they'd literally got back to square one, totally the same, because he's had two losses at this second level where he didn't get through it. And straight up, 7 out. So our player over here, he's happy because that's his role where he's taking the 2 units of risk. This guy here just takes up a unit, pulls back his initial risk. He hasn't made any money, but he's got no risk. He's got 3 units on the felt. This guy's locked up profit, and he's got 2 units on the felt. Come out 7, no good. No good for either player, but particularly not for this guy, because his potential profit was washed away. This guy has lost some winnings, but he already racked $100 of win, 2 units. So he lost the opportunity to make more, but at least he got his reward for the risk he took. This guy got no reward for the risk, he just got his money back. That's a little difference there. Nine again. All right. 10. 10 hard. And there's our 7. All right, pay both players. Same win, same amount, parlay, power press. This is the one we're going to need to get through. And we got a yo. So terrible. Terrible time for a yo. Both players lose. Obviously, our player over here on the 132, he lost a bit more. But he's still up. He's still up just that extra 50 at this point. And I think this is a reasonably fair comparison because he's been knocked off that second level quite a number of times, and he's still doing at least as good and slightly better than the 1, 2, 3. So I think it's actually sort of showing that it's not a bad trade. All right, so we're on the 6, not the best one to be on, but we got our 7. Came nice and early. Old game, we start over, parlay, power press. Here we go, can we get through it? Got an 8. Alright, so do we get through it? Got 6. What does the shooter make their point? Ace deuce. And we got our 7. So we did prevail, but remember we've lost about 3 times back to back at this level. Maybe 3 times, something like that. Haven't got there, because there we go. So that's good. He goes up to 3, takes his initial unit of risk back. Hasn't made any money, but he's got no risk other than his winnings on the felt. This guy here takes that solid win back in his rack, and plus his unit of risk. It's 2 units of risk back in his rack plus his winnings. So it's nice. He's basically pocketing 4 units, the 2 units of risk plus 2 units of profit. On the 6. 6 is the point. Let's see how we go here. Ace deuce, could have had that earlier. That would have been nice. 1 roll sooner. And there's our 7. So on this roll, doesn't really matter. Both players both end up with the same net win, which is 6 units. Which is quite nice when you're playing at a $50 level, right? So it's a pretty nice series win. Let's start over. Alright. So trials and tribulations, we've been up, we've been down, now we're coming back up again. That's what I want to show you, that like this strategy is typically going to get you some profit. It's not that, you know, you are at some point in your session going to have a few wins, right? And when you get them, the money accumulates quickly. Come out 7. Again, it's about time for the light side to start clawing it back, because there is an ebb and flow to how this stuff happens. You'll see it all the time. On the 10, I can hope and pray that that's a good number. It's a midnight. It's going to hopefully it's not. We don't get a 6, 4, 10, and we got our 7. That's what we're looking for. All right, both players win their unit, press up, press their wins up. This guy power presses out of his bankroll an extra unit. This is the critical roll. And on the 5, be nice to get another come out winner. We've had so many front side losses. It's been quite. There's our, should have been our come out winner. It's done it to us a couple of times now. Rolls that ace deuce straight after the point. And there's a 10. On the 4, hard. There's that ace deuce again. We don't want the ace deuces rolling now. We want them rolling when we're on the come out. That's when we want them. And there's our 7. So I got through the critical roll. And as you've seen, we're getting through about half of them, which is what you expect. You're going to lose half and you're going to win half. That's just how it works, right? It's the math of it. Basically a 50-50 bet. So half of them will win and half of them will lose. But remember, you're winning more than you lose when you lose, right? And that's the important thing to remember. So this guy parlays up his win, puts his original unit of risk in his bankroll. So if we were to stop, well, let's just see where we go, where we end up. On the 6, I'm going to probably call it quits very soon. So I think I've shown enough of it. 8. I want to see if we get through the progression or not. There's our 7. We both got through the progression. So not really getting a chance to see a big difference between them, because when we've actually got through that second hit, we're typically getting our third hit as well. so there's not a lot of differentiation there, which you will get more differentiation between this guy. If you get to level 2, this guy's going to pull ahead. If you get to level 3, they'll end up the same. All right, so where do we end up? It's a good return in anyone's business. So both of them made 500 bucks. This guy made his 500 plus an extra unit. So not a lot of difference, because pretty much every time we got through that second roll, we got the third hit anyway. So where that doesn't always happen, yeah, we'll see more of a difference between the two. But as I said, I like both of them, and they're both solid plays. I'm kind of happy to take that extra unit of risk on that second roll to get my profit, only requiring 2 rolls to get my profit. And yes, half the time I won't get there, but half the time I will. And when I do get there, my wins outweigh what I lose, and that's all that matters. That's why I think it's a really solid play. You're going to lose 2 units, but guess what? When you win, you're going to win 3 units. And when you win 3 units, that's more than losing 2 units. And that's why, with those averages, on that getting to that second roll, you're ultimately going to be in the profit. And that's just pretty simple math there. So anyway, both strategies solid, both of them won. Very little difference in the bankroll today, but I think it's worth, this is not definitive. We didn't get to see enough of the failing on that third roll. If we fail on the third roll, then obviously we'll see marked difference, but they're very, very similar. So I just thought it was worth showing that there is a nuance and a difference to these two, but I think you do well with either of them. It comes down to personal preference, really. But I'd probably I'll stick with the 1-3-2 most of the time, unless I'm seeing lots and lots of chop. And when I say chop, pass line wins, don't pass wins. Pass line wins, don't pass wins. If I'm seeing lots and lots of that sort of chop, then I'm going to do one or two things. I'm going to use probably, zigzagging, flipping my bet from one to the other, but still playing the 1-3-2, or I would adopt using 1-2-3. So both really, really good plays. Can't be critical of either of them. So I'll leave it there, and appreciate you watching.